How you been, man?
I've been I've been all right, you know. Um, yeah, I've been doing all right lately. Things have been getting better, you know.
Yeah,
I was going through a little rough patch for a while, but yeah, things are going good right now.
cool. Um,
I just got the cleaning job back and stuff, so
and you said you're like, did you say you're like building like a van or an RV or something?
I'm building a tiny home on my dad's Ford F-150 that he actually passed on to me after he passed. So,
Oh, okay.
um, he loved traveling and I love traveling. So I thought I'd build a tiny home on that, do something with it. I can't drive it right now, so I figured like by the time I get my license back, I'd have that done. And I have like a little place to like hang out and travel in, go skate,
Sick.
different states. I wanted to spread his ashes across like a bunch of different states. Um,
Was he into traveling too?
yeah, yeah, he loved traveling. That was his favorite thing to do. Um, Montana was his favorite. I think Idaho was Black Sand Beach, like somewhere out in NorCal,
Mm-hmm.
in the redwoods. That's where I really want to go, and spread them. He'd love that.
That's sick.
Yeah,
Were you guys close?
yeah, we were. He actually, yeah, I was like extremely close with him, especially in the last couple years of his life. But he like shot a few of my ads for Trans World. Um, I think it was like a front board kickflip on an out rail at the U of M in Minneapolis. Uh, Yeah, when I had like dreadlocks and stuff, that's when he was shooting like photos for me and stuff. It was so sick.
I forgot about
He was always like my coach when I played hockey too.
that. So you started skating when you were like 8, you said?
Yep, around 8 or 9. 9 is when I started taking it seriously and started like going to third layer and like consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Let me think. Yeah, my uncle is the one who got me into skateboarding. My mom's brother.
Mm-hmm.
I remember he like brought skateboards over and he like ollied over them on flat ground and I was like so stoked about it. And then he brought me to like this Familia event. I think it was a Familia event before Familia was Familia. It was like Phobia. That's what it was. I saw some dude do a pop shove it. I was like, what? Like super like quick and didn't like pop it. He just did like a shove it. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I want to do that shit. Yeah. So that was like my main inspiration for skating, yeah. And then my neighbor skated also, Mikey Spooner. And he's the one who taught me how to kickflip. Oh, those two played a big part in my skateboarding, that's for sure. I wouldn't be a skater without them.
It seems like,
Yeah. My dad
so,
was a beast at hockey.
oh yeah. So did you grow up in Minneapolis?
I grew up in Minnesota. I was born in Edina, then lived
Mm.
in this town called Richfield. It's like borders Minneapolis. It's right on the outskirts.
Mm.
And I lived there till I was 6, I think, and then moved up to Ramsey, Minnesota. And then we lived in a hotel for like a year while the house was being built. And then, yeah, I've been here pretty much ever since. And then I lived in California for a few years from when I was like 12 till like on and off from 12 to 19. That's when I lived in Cali. I would come home for like a year or like go back out for a few months. But there was like a period where I lived there for like 2 years. Oh, that was mainly like the World Industries days, like 15 until I was 16, 17. Yeah, about that. Until I got kicked off World.
I'll get back to that because I didn't know that. But when did it start seeming like maybe you were better than the average kid at skateboarding?
I don't know. I never really thought that like personally, but it was when
Mhm.
maybe when people like started like coming up to me and telling me like, oh, and when people like notice the work that you put in, that's when you like really It might. I don't think it ever really sinks in, but something like that, because I don't think that I'm like better than anyone. I don't like to like think that way,
Yeah.
like in a conceited way. But
Yeah.
yeah,
The reason I'm asking
you
is
know,
just because you you obviously were kind of like really good, really young, and started competing and getting sponsored, and that doesn't happen to everybody. And so I was just curious, like,
hmm
when did you first start competing and get sponsored, and what was it like being really young and in that position for you?
it was it was awesome. It finally felt like my dreams were coming true. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a good feeling when like that hard work you put in pays off. But like I never started skating for those reasons. Yeah, I wanted to be pro, but like I loved skating so much. I just wanted to be
Mm-hmm.
at the skate park all the time. Mm. But like this cranberry juice tastes weird. But uh, when I when I skated Tampa Am, I think when I was 12 or 13, I think I got sponsored by Globe. Like I met the team manager there. Um, yeah, and I remember I made it to the semifinals at Tampa Pro, or not Tampa Pro, Tampa Am. Uh, they wouldn't let me skate Tampa Pro. I don't know why. And I had a pro board and everything. It
Oh wow,
was weird,
really?
but
For world?
yeah, yeah, they wouldn't let me skate. No, it was for like Huck skateboards. It was in 2022, I
Oh,
think.
okay.
Yeah, they just emailed me back. They said like the skateboard company I rode for it wasn't like established enough. I got the email
Okay.
back. It was a small company out of Colorado. Yeah,
Was
yeah,
there
it's kind
any?
of weird. But it's all good.
It is kind of weird because I've seen people in there. Like I
hmm
went to Tampa Pro since like 1998 or something, and seen some pretty random people and sponsors in there. Maybe they tightened it up.
Yeah, for real. That's what I'm saying.
Was there anything difficult about being young and sponsored and competing, or was it just fun for you?
I think it was difficult. Like once it became something that was like, oh, like something like it felt like I had to do it at one point. Like it was forced almost.
Oh,
Like
really?
that's kind of when it became a problem. Yeah. And like once like a team manager is like telling you you should do this, you should do that, like almost felt it takes the fun away from it. And I feel like that's with anything. It could be like once it feels like it's, but also you get a reward from that. There's good and there's bad in it, but I don't know. Yeah, it definitely became stressful for me at some point. Like especially filming like video parts and like having like a team manager nagging you about getting like a trick down the stairs said like, oh, like, but I don't want to do that trick. you know, it was stressful, like big time, and I definitely got into like partying and stuff at a young age, like being around all of that. Because I moved to California when I was like 15 by myself, had an
Mm.
apartment or had like a house with like a bunch of dudes. I think it was like Nick Merlino and Joel Morgan Weck. I don't know if you know
Hmm.
Weckingball,
Yeah.
like on Instagram. Yeah, he was my roommate.
Oh wow,
Yeah, that was
I
like
didn't know
before
that.
he started blowing up. Yeah. Yeah, he was like my brother. He was like my big bro. He protected me there.
Hmm. So you're out in Cali and you're riding for World, and you're just like living with them, like doing the skate house thing.
Yeah, I moved out there like shortly after Dam Am Costa Mesa, I believe. It was like a few months after that. Like I went back to Minnesota, then moved out there, lived with Charlie Thomas for a while at his place in Long Beach.
Hmm.
I think I lived there for like I think 2 or 3 months, and then I went to the Paramount Studios contest, like the Downtown Showdown, and
Hmm.
that's when I met up with Nick and Joel Morgan Weck. And I remember we went to this one apartment. It had a bunch of fleas in it. And we didn't get fleas like stuck on us and bring them to the next one, but we ended up finding one after that. And it was like off 6th and Lime Street. And we called it the Slime House. And that was crazy living there. Definitely. Yeah, it was wild being 15 years old and having that much freedom. You know, it was fun. It was every kid's dream, but got me got me into a pretty unhealthy lifestyle at a young age.
Yeah. How did that affect your skate career? I mean, you were like an up and coming am, you were like doing well, and then you get into that situation. Like, how did that affect your skate career?
I think it affected it by just like my reputation, obviously, and it made me lazy. It made me just like I lost passion for like the thing that I really loved, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I liked drinking, I liked smoking, and the weed made me lazy. And like think that it does that to a lot of people, but it
Mm-hmm.
definitely did it to me at a young age. Like I didn't know how to control that. It was just yeah. I remember my skate park in Minnesota though. Like my dad got a skate park built for me here, and like right around that exact time, like it had to get taken down, and because the city came and we didn't have a permit for anything. And that was like my pride and joy, and that got taken down. And I think that really bummed me out. You know, it made me mad.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why I kind of just rebelled. You know, because that was what kept me out of trouble was being able to skate here all the time and have my friends over, and yeah, that was kind of taken from me. And then at that same time though, like I went on a Red Bull trip to Woodward East, and
Mm-hmm.
I got like in trouble for hanging out with one of like the girl campers there. Um, Yeah, 'cause we snuck out after dark and like hung out somewhere. And then I had to go home early from that trip. Red Bull sent me home like the next day. Like they're like, that's not allowed here, blah blah. And I'm the only one that got sent home on that trip. But there was like other people with me when it happened, and they were hanging out with girls too. But I'm the only one. I took all the blame for it, basically. I was riding for World still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was riding for Neff Headwear.
Mm-hmm.
I think Osiris. I was like Float, Osiris, Destructo Trucks,
Mm-hmm.
Bones, Wheels.
Oh, okay.
Uh, trying to think what else. I wasn't riding for Red Bull though at the time. I'm not riding for them either. I'm just wearing this racing hat that I got from them. But I did do that Red Bull Crash Dice stuff on my skateboard. I was like the first person to ever do that, and that was crazy. They like did it in St. Paul, then they did it in Canada somewhere, and they flew me out to Canada for that. And that was just amazing. Like the craziest experience ever for sure.
Wow. That's
Uh,
like a cool combo of like your hockey versus skateboarding upbringing.
yeah, it was life changing. That was an awesome experience. You know, I want to do it again. I wanted to make it like into like a real sport or something. For real though. Just got to figure out like a board that would be able to turn around the corners with those blades. But it would be possible. That was the only problem, was like turning.
How did you get on World in the first place?
World Industries. That happened through I think I want to say Mark Muller from Third Lair.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they got a call from like World Industries and they wanted like a rider from Third Lair to like they were choosing like one rider from Third Lair to get sponsored by World Industries, and it was like between me and Kiri and Stone. Um, and he didn't. I don't think he really wanted to take the sponsor, just because like I don't know World didn't have like the best reputation like in the skate community. I don't think, and I didn't really know that at the time. Like I, in my second board was like a World Industries board.
Mm-hmm.
And my second board was like a World Industries board. that I ever rode. So I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. I was like 10 years old. That's when I got on World. And then, yeah, I rode for them like my entire skate career.
I mean, you were on there with the squad like Dustin Blauvelt, right? And Timmy Knuth.
Yep,
I forget who else that was.
yep.
Chad Fernandez still on there?
No, he wasn't. They like wiped their whole team off. Like they kicked
And
everyone
then you
off, and
guys
then
came on.
I think IE distribution. Yep. I was actually the first person that when they switched distributions, I was the first person that they put on the team. And then, except Curtis Calamonico, they kept him. That was the
Oh,
only
okay, yeah,
rider they really kept. And rest in peace, Curtis. Love you,
yeah.
bro.
I know that World didn't have the best reputation at the time, but I think people could still look back at it and be like, well, dude, Cody and Dustin and Timmy were gnarly skaters. And so was Curtis, you know? I mean, like you guys were like the final squad.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Anthony Shetler bought him out. I think he owed, I think he owns like part of it or something.
I
I'm not
just
sure.
I just was texting with him. He makes their wood. So he makes the boards. Yeah,
Yeah, Shetler's a good dude. I love that dude.
for
I
sure.
haven't talked to him in a while, but yeah, it's always love for sure.
Like did you grow up skating around, Davis or Jack Olson or like like so many people came out of there. I mean, what was it like being part of that skate community?
Um, yeah, I skated with a lot of the dudes. Not really Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Davis was more on like he's a little older than me, so I didn't really skate with
Mm-hmm.
him much. But like I did, Davis did come on like a trip to California with me before. Like I was cool with all those dudes. It was like never really a problem. Jack, he was one of my best friends growing up. I still talk to him sometimes. I haven't talked to him in like a year or two, but I kind of after my dad died, I just like kind of cut off like connections from a lot of people. I think I was just mad at the world, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like I also have like social anxiety too, so I don't really reach out to people. Like it's hard for me. It's weird.
What happened with World? You said you got kicked off World.
Yeah, I don't know why. They told my dad that like I was better off. Like he's gonna be better off not riding for World. Like that's what they said, and honestly, that's fine. Like I'm kind of glad it happened in a way, but it also like put me into a lower place because I don't know. Definitely like actually no, it was better that they did that, but because honestly, I didn't really want to. I just don't get why they didn't turn me pro. Like that was kind of something that I was bummed out about. But and then shortly after that, though, like one door closes, another one opens. I got signed to Mountain Dew, which was awesome, and I got to
Oh wow.
travel like with P Rod and Jordan Maxim and Cookie and uh, Keelan Dab, Boo Johnson, like all those dudes that rode for Mountain Dew at that time. Like we got to travel. Like we went on a lot of trips. It was actually crazy, but that was actually really cool. I was stoked on that. When I was 15, I was still riding for World. I didn't get kicked off until I was like 18, like after I dropped my It's Your World part. But
Mm-hmm.
in between that time from there to there, I was skating contests still. Um, yeah, I ended up getting into doing some drugs, some harder drugs in that time, at a really young age. And yeah, I was on and off addicted to opiates from when I was like first time I did an opiate, I was like 15, I think,
Oh.
at like a party in Minnesota, like a bunch of kids and stuff. Yeah, I ended up getting into that and then until on and off until I was like 21. And then I had an overdose when I was 21, and that's when I checked myself into treatment. And um, yeah, then I got sober after there. You
Oh,
know,
wow.
I got sober from that specific chemical. You know, what that I was doing.
Like what was the overdose situation?
The overdose situation was, um, yeah, the girl that I was dating at the time, like we were doing it together, and that made it even harder to quit, honestly. But just when you have somebody to do it with, like misery loves company, right? But yeah, I was actually like using IV drugs at the time, and just it ended up being the wrong, like a bad batch of whatever I got, and then I did it in the normal amount I would have done, like the normal amount I would have done if it was like the same stuff I was getting, and then ended up freaking overdosing. And I was in the front seat of my ex-girlfriend's car, like when it happened, and she was like, "Oh, is it good? Is it good?" And then I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Yeah, it's really."
Oh, wow.
And I completely fell out. They said I was like black and blue. I wasn't breathing. And then my friend, like, luckily we were parked in front of one of my friend's house, and my ex-girlfriend ran up to his house and like knocked on his door and grabbed him. Was like, "Yo, Cody's overdosing." And then he came out and grabbed me, put me in the back seat, and then he said he poured Mountain Dew down my throat, like, cause like the caffeine like apparently would counteract the drug.
Oh, wow.
They ended up driving to the hospital, and I wasn't breathing. I guess like I was black and blue, like foaming out the mouth or something. And then once they got to the hospital, I started like coughing or something and breathing, like somewhat breathing, and then they ended up driving back to his house. And that's when I woke up and I was in the back seat and like everything was spinning.
Oh,
And
you
I
didn't
grabbed
even
my head.
go
I was like, "What?" I was like, "No way."
you didn't even go in the
No,
hospital?
they didn't bring me into the hospital.
Oh my god.
No.
W-
Yeah, I thought that was kind of shady, but but I
What
understand people being scared, like to getting in trouble or something if anything were to happen, you know.
so how did it feel being that close to dying once once you sobered up or woke up or, came back to sort of normal that night or the next day?
It it felt surreal, like unreal. Like I didn't when I came to, everything was spinning, and like I had to like grab onto the seat, and then I grabbed my head, and I was just like, I couldn't believe it. And I looked at my friend and my ex-girlfriend, and they were like both crying, and everything was just black. Like I don't really remember it at all. I think if anything, it would have been a peaceful death. But uh, yeah, it felt pretty crazy. Like 2 days prior, my great grandma had just passed away too. So I was like, I believe I had an angel looking out for me. That's for sure. Um, yeah, it felt crazy though. And then right when I woke up though, I saw them crying, and then like all the dope that I had, I grabbed it and I threw it out like right then and like stomped it, and then my ex-girlfriend was just freaking out, like, "Why'd you do that?"
Oh,
Just like didn't really care that I just OD'd. So then after that, I just checked myself into treatment, and I think my mom was the one that encouraged me because she knew that I was already using and stuff. But yeah, went to treatment, and then I did like 18 days in treatment. Then I left there because my friend offered. He's like, "Do you want to come with me and my family to California, and live in California in the desert, and we can get sober there?" Oh, I left treatment and went with them and just lived in, ironically, Needles, California for like, yeah, get sober from doing IV drugs to living in a town called Needles.
there's a skate park there, right?
Yeah, there is. Tony Hawk built it actually.
Oh, no way.
he had it built with like the yeah. I thought that was crazy. It's a pretty gnarly park. It's all cement. It gets like 110 degrees there in the summer. Way too hot to skate.
How hard was it doing those 18 days and then sobering up after you'd been doing the opiates for so long?
That was one of the hardest things I've had to do for sure in life is go through those withdrawals and like cut off those connections. You know, the hardest part for me I think was like leaving my girlfriend at the time and just like accepting that like she didn't even like go to treatment like after I got sober. So I was like, oh dang, like I'm I got to do this alone now. Like I'm not here.
Yeah, she's not with you.
She's not gonna be there. You know, she doesn't. She didn't want to get better. You know, you got to want it yourself. The 18 days though, they were awesome getting sober. You know, like after I chose to check myself in, like started getting my family back, my friends. Like they would come around. Uh, yeah, things just started to go in a better direction.
So you're just like hanging out one day and you get a text from someone pretending to be a girl. Like you get a text from a girl.
Yep. So I had already had those photos on my phone, like,
Mm-hmm.
because I had probably sent it to somebody before, like,
A real
but
girl.
actually a girl that asked for it, you know, like a real girl. But yeah, somebody hit me up on my phone while I was staying at Nyjah's house, and it was in December. It was after like a San Francisco do tour, and we had just filmed that Double Rock at the Double Rock like warehouse. And then I went back to Nyjah's house, and then ended up getting a text from a random person and saying that they saw me on Camp Woodward. It was a girl pretending to be a girl. It was Dane though.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and ended up sending those nude photos to him. I think it was one nude photo. It was just me in a mirror, like
Mm-hmm.
posing. It was embarrassing, but yeah, I sent it to her, and
Mm-hmm.
she sent because she asked for him. He asked for him. He's like, I remember I sent a normal photo of myself first, and then he's like, "Oh, you're missing the good part." He's like, "Send me like a nude photo," and I sent that one, completely nude. And like 10 minutes later, I get a photo sent back from him. But before that, he sent me like titty photos of some random girl, and then sent the
Yeah.
photo. Then he sent one back of just like 10 or 11 dudes, like Australian dudes, like pointing at the camera, like laughing with like cardboard signs that like said some whatever on it, like some slurs. Like it was just bullying. It was just mean. And I remember Chima Ferguson was in the photo, Dane Burman. Uh, I don't remember the other dudes, but there was definitely like pro skaters from Australia in there. Uh,
Why do you why do you
but yeah,
think
they were just like pointing at me, laughing.
why do you think they did that to you? Like did you know any of them?
No, I didn't know. I didn't even know Dane. I never met him. I was a fan of his skating, but like, and Chima's skating, so I thought it was just like it's weird how people are like that. Maybe they're just like thinking it's a joke because I know those Australian dudes are like to joke a lot. Like they're pretty wild dudes. But
So
yeah, I don't know. I didn't know any of them, and they did that. You know, that shit like made my heart drop, my stomach turn. I was like that. Damn, that's bogus. I was like, I remember I sent the text back. I was like, damn, you got me. And that shit stressed me out for so long. I was just like, damn, like my nude photo. I was like, damn, they got me. I knew something was gonna happen out of that, something bad. After that shit happened, I was like, fuck. And I was staying at Nyjah's house too. It was just like, had, and I had just rolled my ankle at Nyjah's, like from feebling this like 13 stair, like my front foot when I landed on the board just completely rolled off. Probably fractured it. But yeah, that shit put me into a low place.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine. It's completely understandable. Especially the shock of like getting the photo back and realizing you were pranked, and you're only like 19 or something. I mean, you're still kind of a kid,
Yeah.
How long after the prank did it end up online? And like when did you discover it was on the internet? I don't know if it was Instagram or Facebook. Like, I don't know what happened there.
Oh, I think somebody probably sent it to me, like a friend or like, I really don't remember much around that time. A lot of that was a blur, but I do know that I remember when it was on like the Thrasher website and like, oh, I remember that just like irked me. I was so bummed. I was mad about it.
Thrasher put it on their site?
Because they used my photo in that. Yeah, the world's best dad. It was on that.
On the
whole podcast interview thing.
Oh,
that
okay.
dude.
Yeah. World's Best Brunch or whatever. Yeah, that was in like June 2013.
So I heard Cody Davis sent you a nude, and why?
I guess like he's a dude too and like sex as well, I guess. I just saw him putting his phone number out on Instagram. And I was like, hey, I'm a girl from Australia. And he was like, well, I'm coming out there soon. We should totally fuck. And I was like, all right, yeah, cool. And then I like Googled like my boobs or something.
Perfect.
And just started sending photos of this chick. And the next thing, he was just sending photos of his dick. And then there was just the boner.
Was he holding the camera?
He was holding the camera.
So it was a mirror shot?
Mirror shot, yeah.
Did he have a nice base tan or was he?
No, he's pretty pasty. Just sent a photo of everyone that I was hanging out with back to him, and he was pretty bummed about it, I think. All the boys pointing, laughing at the camera.
That's cool.
Yeah. I was just freaking out that it was on Thrasher, like pretty stressed out about it, and yeah, I tried to block it out a lot. I didn't really do anything about it. I knew it was wrong, like what he did and what they were doing. And I just didn't do anything about it because it's like Thrasher, Like, if I were to like even try to like do anything like suing him or something for like just, I don't know, it was like defamation. That's what that is, isn't it?
Well, it's a bunch of things.
Something like that.
It's a bunch of things. Like what Dane did was illegal. And then Thrasher posting it without your consent, a photo that you didn't, you got tricked into sharing in the first place. Like that's illegal too, so, I don't know the exact legalities to it, but I'm sure that some sort of like harassment, privacy,
bullying, harassment.
Yeah. Did you, and you didn't even like call Thrasher or like say anything to them? You just like, cause you don't want to like piss off Thrasher, right? Everybody has to like deal with.
No, Thrasher. I feel like I would be fucked if I took him to court.
Yeah.
They probably have too much power. And like around like after that time, like after the nude photo shit happened, and I think that was before I overdosed and stuff too. Mm. So yeah, like after that happened, I was just like, I was dealing with, after I moved back home, that's when I started using like the opiates again. It was after that, and then a lot of people talk shit about it. People like, not really like people hitting me up like that I didn't know too much, but like people that I knew, they were like, oh, like look at this, like your nude photos up. Like some of my close friends, maybe my close friends sometimes, they were just like, oh dude, shouldn't have sent a nude photo. Like, it's like, yeah, obviously I shouldn't have, but I mean, she asked for it. I was like, I'm only 19. I didn't really think too much about that.
You don't think that there's a van full of guys lying to you to illegally catfish a photo from you, like it's not your fault, honestly.
Yeah, but that's also what I felt like. It was people made me feel like it was all my fault why I sent it, or why all that happened. But I do take accountability for sending it and stuff. But I mean, it was just wrong what they did for sure. It didn't feel right.
No, it's not right at all.
What he did. Yeah, I forgive him though. I can't carry that.
Can you talk about the effects that a leaked nude photo would have on the average person, the average 19-year-old?
The average 19-year-old. Okay, there's so much that goes into it. First of all, we know that leaked intimate images, so images published without your consent, is harmful to anyone. And here's the reason. It's just as harmful as physical assault. Okay, so any sort of argument that it's just a photo or just a prank, and even arguably it could be more harmful because it is a permanent imprint. So I don't know if there's really any way to compare physical assault versus like digital exploitation or printing of an image without your consent. But the bottom line is when an image is printed without your consent, especially if it was used to humiliate or exploit you, every job interview you go to, you're wondering, did this person see it? Every time you date someone, you're wondering, have they seen this already? There's this intensely vulnerable aspect to it. It's already a violation. Your own body is being used without your consent. It's so vulnerable. It's so violating. And then it follows you for the rest of your life. So it's not just one person assaulted you. You have no idea who has seen you in that way without your permission, laughed at you, humiliated you. It follows you forever.
That was me asking about a regular person.
Okay.
Are there any like compounded or effects if you grew up in a bad household or you were like the victim of some sort of abuse or divorce or any sort of stuff like that? Like, does it get exponentially worse?
Yeah, it actually, you use such a good word. It does actually get exponentially worse. So we know that the more traumatic experiences a person has, so typically the research has been on childhood, the more adverse life experiences you have, your risk of developing a host of physical illness, your risk of mortality or an earlier death, your risk of mental illness, your risk of substance use, poverty, all these bad things in adulthood increases exponentially. If you have already been traumatized, one of the key features of being victimized, either physically abused, verbally abused, neglected, sexually abused, whatever that may be, one of the key features is somehow feeling that it's your fault, that there's something wrong with you that brought it on. And so if you're being abused by your parents, for instance, this is so harmful because the people who are supposed to shape your sense of self and attachment and security make you feel that you're so fundamentally loved and safe that you're free to explore the world, and that if people don't like you, it's sort of their opinion. But we get that core love and sense of stability and identity from our parents or our caregivers. If you're abused by your parents, you have this kind of fractured self-image that, a lot of us have, and we can still be successful, happy adults. But, if you go to therapy, if you get invested in your own growth or self-esteem, it can really help counter some of that negative self-talk. Sexual abuse can really fuck somebody up. So especially a male, because there are all of these sort of social norms and, masculinity ideas. And if you've been sexually abused and you're a boy, there are all these additional layers of feeling weak, or, just like less of a man as you get older. And then if you're humiliated in this way by a group of peers or of older adults, right? There's something about the collectivism. Yeah. So if you've already been abused, you're going to probably carry around this sort of sense of yourself that you're broken or damaged or deserving of bad things, right? There's always going to be, even if somebody is sexually assaulted, a one-off, the thing we imagine that is never quite actually what real sexual assault is, but like somebody in an alleyway comes and sexually assaults you. Even when on paper it is clearly not your fault, people will find a way to blame themselves. It's just part of the trauma of sexual assault, is feeling that you are somehow responsible or somehow deficient in some way that it happened to you. Like, of course, this would happen to you because they are, you deserve it in a way. And so somebody who's grown up with trauma is more likely to have that lower self-esteem. And in fact, that is actually something that people can sometimes spot. So if somebody is a predator, or if somebody has their own need for power, which is common among people who sexually exploit, sexually harass, or sexually assault other people, there is a sort of power dynamic inherent to it. And they'll look for a potential victim who seems like they're already kind of down and out or down on themselves, and less likely to retaliate, less likely to stand up for themselves after. They'll sort of take somebody who looks like they've already been victimized and then victimize them further. So to answer your question of how would this affect somebody who has already been traumatized, what it's going to do is it's going to further entrench that view of themselves as broken, unlovable, unworthy, dirty, a fool. And then what you're going to actually see, so because of that strengthened belief, what you are going to see is psychological harm. And that can look like, if somebody's already a substance user, which is not uncommon if they have a history of trauma, you're going to see increased substance use. If somebody is already having trouble at work or keeping a job, you're going to probably see more pronounced problems at work, losing their job. If somebody already has a criminal background, you might see an uptick in criminal activity. You might see encounters with the justice system. You're going to see difficulties all around in different aspects of life. When I come in to do evaluations to see if somebody's been affected, I look at the quality of their friendships, the quality of their intimate relationships, the quality of their sex life, the quality of their financial management, how their finances are going, if they're working out, if they're taking care of their health, if they have an uptick in illnesses. I'm looking at every possible domain to see all the different ways they might be harmed. Speaking hypothetically, if somebody engages in catfishing in general, there are laws against this. Now, it depends on the jurisdiction. Obviously, things are really complicated when somebody, let's say if somebody were in another country and then another party, so let's say there's a perpetrator and a victim in any case, and if the perpetrator is out of the country, would it be, I mean, every country has its own laws, every state has its own laws. So there are different jurisdictions, but in general, there are laws against catfishing. Sometimes it's fraud. California has a lot of laws around like intimate publication. It can depend on whether the person's a public figure or not, but there are a lot of laws around this, both criminal and civil. Here's where I come in, is I look for harm. So there are two different ways that any sort of legal case can go, and the public often doesn't understand this. So there's criminal, if somebody actually violated a criminal law, and that would be like what you're referring to, sexual assault. I'm not sure. I'm not an attorney in general, but I am more familiar with the laws that are involved in the type of forensic psychology work I do, which is more civil when it comes to any sort of sexual harassment, sexual assault. What I'm looking at is the harm caused to the person. I usually am involved in a civil case, which is after the criminal charges, or sometimes no criminal charges are even filed and that part is not pursued. But the civil case is where a person is saying, hey, this harmed me, regardless of whether or not we're going to say that you committed sexual assault or, sexual harassment or even fraud. This harmed me. And when it comes to harm, what we're looking at is intentional infliction of emotional distress or recklessness. Basically, these are called torts, which means harms. And then really the question becomes, did this person engage in conduct that a reasonable person would consider reckless or harmful? Would any reasonable person think that this is essentially wrong or harmful? And if you kind of think of it in those terms, it's a good gauge for whether or not somebody has a civil case. Now, not everything would meet, then we get into legal standards, etc. But I'm brought into cases that where there's similar claims that I'm hearing in this case. And what we'd be looking at is how severely a person was harmed. And then they would have a right to claim damages. And when I say damages, what I usually mean there, so the courts recognize that, we can't obviously make somebody whole again, but we do that through financial compensation. And so you have compensatory damages, therapy costs, medical bills, etc., and then, or loss of wages. And then you have punitive damages. And that's just essentially, you're going to get paid for the extra wrongness of this. Because not only now do you have to heal, and healing can be expensive, and also because you were impaired by trauma or, depression or whatever it may be, or even substance use that got worse because of this, we know that you weren't, as effective in getting another job. So we're going to pay you all that money. And then we're also going to pay you punitive damages because of how wrong this was.
Oh yeah. What I was going to say though is shortly after that, like after my overdose and I got sober, like, and I moved back to Minnesota after needles, like Thrasher started reposting like my videos on their Instagram. Like, and that's kind of when I started like blowing up. Like, remember World Star was reposting my stuff, like a couple videos. Then I almost got hit by the car. I don't know if you've seen that video. Like Thrasher reposted that. They reposted that and they're like, Cody might have pooped his pants today or something. I forgot what the caption was, but it was actually pretty funny. But yeah, they started reposting my videos, so I thought that was like kind of like making up for the bullying and shit. So I didn't want to do anything else. I think it's best to just forgive people, and unless it's like something where it's like physically hurting you, I mean, bullying and harassment is pretty serious, but yeah, but I do think about it a lot still. I mean, people talk to me or ask me about it still to this day.
That's crazy. That it's something you have to deal with for so long, just because Dane wanted to be funny in a van.
Yeah, I don't think he really realized the effects it would have. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know. But my homie Mike Franklin told me, he was like, tell Dane, he's like, if I ever see him, he's like, I'm gonna fuck him up. He's like, I'm gonna punch his face in.
I know, Mike. Did Dane ever apologize?
No, he didn't. I don't think so. I think he might have done it, like, you know how people subtweet and shit?
Yeah.
Like, he might have tried to say, is like, I think he posted on Instagram saying, like, I'm not perfect and I'm sorry. Like, something like that. It was like a photo. Or I forgot what he posted. It seemed like he was probably getting shit for what he did at the time, or like somebody told him to like post something. Like, I don't know. It was almost like he was asking for forgiveness or something, but like not serious about it. Just, I don't know what it was. Maybe he wasn't even subtweeting about that, He doesn't give a fuck. I don't think. If he did, he'd probably reach out to me and say sorry. But yeah, after that, I I left Nyjah's house, and I actually left my bag at Nyjah's house, and I went to Long Beach, and never got my bag back from there. And then like Nyjah unfollowed me on Instagram, and
damn,
I didn't talk to like anybody like that I talked to there Like till this day, still haven't talked to him. Those are like some of my best friends growing up. After that, it just like changed everything. It was weird.
Say it's weird that people didn't stand up for you. They just like ghosted you.
Yeah. I thought that was weird too. Definitely. I think they didn't want to. I think they were just so focused on. They didn't care, obviously. But I think they were focused on like just being in the industry. Like they didn't want to fuck shit up for themselves.
Being cool.
Something. I don't know. I've been hated on in skating for ever since I rode for World. Like a young white kid with dreadlocks. Freaking Rise for World Industries, a super weird company in their eyes. I thought World was sick. I loved it. I thought it was dope. But apparently it just didn't have a good reputation. I think it just seemed like it was promoted to little kids and was sold in Target and Walmart.
So after all this Dane stuff happened, you moved back home, and is that when the incident with Jamie Thomas happened?
Yeah, I moved home. And then I got heavily into drinking for a while, just partying with my friends in the summertime. And remember, like one day somebody hit me up. They're like, "Yo, the couch tour is at their Lair. You should come and skate it." And I hadn't skated for a whole month. Like hadn't stepped on a board, nothing at the time. And I was like, "Okay, I'll come and skate it." And then went there in the morning and like skated until my jello legs like didn't exist anymore. So I still had jello legs for the contest, but I ended up winning the contest and somehow, I don't know how, but on the podium, Jamie Thomas was like handing out the trophies and the gifts to like the first, second, and third place dudes, and came up to me and handed me my stuff, and he like whispered in my ear. He was like, "Nice dick," and I was like, that's weird. I was shocked. I was just like, "What?"
How did that feel?
I didn't really think like anything of like
you're having a moment, right? Like
it was weird.
You just did great in this contest. You had already been through the Dane thing. You dealt with all this shit. You skate a contest, you do great, you win it, you're on the podium, it's your moment. And then Jamie has to fucking make a fucked up joke to you, which is also like basically sexual harassment, what he did to you. And like he had to make it about himself, really, like he stole your moment.
Mm-hmm.
Is what he did.
It was my decision to get clean. I did it for me. Admittedly, I probably did it subliminally for you, so I could come back a brand new me. You helped see me through, and don't even realize what you did. Believe me, I've been through the ringer, but they can do little to the middle finger. I think I got a tear in my eye. I feel like the king of haters can make like bees with no fingers. No more beat fingers, no more drama from now on. I promise to focus solely on handling my responsibilities as a father, so I solemnly swear to always treat this room like my daughters and raise it.
Yeah, it was weird. And he's my idol growing up, Like I have a photo with him when I was like 10 years old at Tampa Am, like the first time I ever skated Tampa Am. I have like a photo with him, like I still have that photo. But yeah, it was kind of weird, but it was obviously a joke. I don't think he thought that I was like gonna be too bummed out about it. It was just like, oh, I think we're just skaters. They're like, we gotta brush it off, It's like they probably assumed that I was just like some tough dude, but I'm really not. I'm really fucking soft. I'm an emotional person, Sometimes, most time. Yeah.
I mean, he was probably close to 40 years old at that time, like late 30s. And he's like, I don't know, it's just kind of crazy to go up to like a 20-year-old on a podium and say that shit.
Yeah, it was inappropriate. That's for sure. I do agree with that. But you know, I forgive him. You know, I don't think maybe he's sorry. I mean, I don't think he's sorry because he never apologized to me or anything. But he probably thought it was just a joke, and that's what I took it as at the time. You know, I didn't think it would like cause too much trauma or like last forever.
But this stuff has stuck
I've
with you.
been through so much stuff. There's just yeah, it has. That's for sure. I'll never forget those moments in my life. You know, that's something I'll remember forever. And it's something weird.
Yeah, no doubt. Like,
But
I fully sympathize with you, and I think I get what you're saying. Like, it's supposed to be jokes, we're supposed to brush it off. But when you're young and like having like the life you grew up with and everything you were going through at the time, you know, personally, and then that Dane shit happens and then that Jamie shit, like, it's gnarly what they fucking did to you. And it's like the perfect example of why you don't know what people are going through. And if you're not like super close to someone where you have the pass to like bust their balls and make fun of them, you know, it's kind of fucked up to just like think you can bully people like that and make joke. I don't know. I think it's so super fucked up. Like I feel bad for you. I feel sad for you.
it is. I
I
agree.
hate that happened.
Thank you. That means a lot.
I want to talk about, we talked about the photo leaking and the effects of the prank and the leak and the Thrasher. So now you have, so after that happens, Cody withdraws. He moves back home. He's not skating as much. You know, like he's going through it, as he said. He was in a low point. So that was December 2012, I believe. June 2013 is when that Thrasher interview came out. So this was like a drawn out humiliation, you know? So you have that reminder 6 months later when the Thrasher interview comes out, you know, the prank happened. That's one.
Yeah. And it's definitely not a prank. And I know that you're saying that facetiously, but yeah, it's really degrading. Yeah.
The incident happened. That's number one. Secondly, the photo got spread around. That's number two. Right. And that all happened around the time of the incident and shortly after. Then things die down. Cody thinks it's over. Right. And then 6 months later, the Thrasher interview comes out. So now you've got this reignited humiliation. Everyone's making fun of it again and talking about it again. That was June. So I believe in like September, maybe August, Cody, the contest comes through town. Cody finally decides to, you know, show himself again, go out into the world, pick up his board, go in public, like present himself to the skateboarding community again. By some freaking miracle, he wins the contest because he's that good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then on the podium, the boss of Dane Burman, the man who sponsors Dane Burman, says, while he's handing him a trophy, he says, "Nice dick." And he takes that moment and he makes it about himself. He thinks he has the right to make that joke. If you said that to any woman in the workplace, you would, if you said that to anyone in a workplace about a woman's body, you would be in HR with sexual harassment.
Yeah, it's sick and it's cruel, but it also represents the normalization of this sort of twisted, like, deviance. There's, there is a difference between funny and really like degrading someone, humiliating someone. There's a cruelty to it. And what I think this definitely goes into that territory.
What I think is extra sinister about it is Jamie didn't reprimand Dane.
Yeah.
His rider, right? Who has a pro board and represents his company. He didn't get kicked off the team. Again, it was a little bit different of a time, so people wouldn't necessarily be like, I'm kicking you off the team for what you did because that's a crime or whatever. But instead of Jamie being a 40-year-old, like, mature leader, he
weird.
Went in and sort of joined in on the joke, extended the joke. But what I really want to get to, and he ruined that moment. But what I really want to get to is the blow of that moment on the podium after everything he dealt with and a comeback and winning the contest.
Okay, let's just say, taking all of this as face value, I'm just pretending hypothetically that all of this is fact and confirmed. It's already been tried in a court of law, etc. Blah, blah, blah. This is such an egregious situation of re-traumatization after re-traumatization, of institutional and group exploitation again and again and again of somebody who was already vulnerable and fucked. And it's cruel. It's cruel and unusual and like sadistic. Like, this poor kid trying his, like, he's got this gift, pouring everything into this gift he has against all odds, beating the gnarliest addiction you can have, surviving, and then winning again, right? Despite all of this, feeling completely alone in the world and humiliated. And he's winning. And you can almost think of it like it's just in the snake pit. Like, there's such a sense of like how awful that would be to feel like the sport you love, the thing you love, that's probably carried you through like who knows what in his life, growing up. A lot of skaters just in general, like it's a crew that might have been a little delinquent or not had things going on, but they go out in the streets and they skate and they have this thing that they love. And this kid had this gift. And, if he had a rough childhood, already isn't feeling like he's got much of a place in the world or matters. Like, even in this new world that he succeeded in, he's still just getting shit on by everyone he admires, everyone who makes up that world, even when he's the best. He can't be safe. He can't buy that safety, no matter what he does. And I would say, like, I got to hand it to him. Like, I don't know if I'd want anything to do with that world. The urge to just run and hide and get away from it all, and the humiliation and the bullying and the cruelty, and just would be so strong. And he's standing up there on the podium in a moment that is personally redemptive. We call this in psychology a corrective experience, right? So the thing you feared, the people you feared, you've overcome it on your own, out of your own sheer will. And you're standing up there and you get reminded of it, but in a new way you didn't expect, right? It hits you again in a new way you couldn't have anticipated. You're never safe. I mean, you're just gonna, when you get traumatized, you tend to develop extreme beliefs about yourself, other people, or the world in general. And one of the most common ways your beliefs get distorted is in feeling like the world is just an unsafe place in general. And feeling like you are unlovable or, just a chronic failure, undeserving. And yeah, even when he's at his best, he's getting taken down a notch for no reason, for something completely undeserved. It's just very cruel and psychologically kind of terrorizing, frankly.
Like, is it surprising that 2 years after, in 2015, I think, is it surprising that Cody overdosed on opiates and had addiction problems and all of this stuff going on?
Here's how I would frame it.
Yeah.
So when I get hired, usually I do what's called an evaluation of psychological injury. Okay. So maybe something like this has happened to somebody, or somebody is claiming that something like this has happened to them, and they're suing a publication or another individual for what is called emotional harm. Okay. So what they'll do in these cases is they'll bring in it's called an expert. And in many cases, they'll bring in a psychological expert like me. And I am doing what is called an evaluation of psychological injury. And what I'm doing is I am looking for evidence that there is genuine, legitimate psychological harm. And then not only does it exist, because, it could have been caused by something in childhood. It could have been caused by something else that happened. It could have been caused by a car accident. So the second part of my job is not just to identify that this person has a psychological injury of some sort, but that it was caused. How related is it to this claim, this event? Okay. So when you're saying, the timeline, are you surprised? So one of the things I would be looking for are patterns like, okay, so let's say this person already has an issue with opiate use. And maybe, we already know that the pattern of opiate addiction is that relapse is very common. So relapse by itself isn't uncommon, but the timing of relapse is something that I would look at. And I would also look at, in the past, how often have they relapsed and what sort of events precipitate or trigger them to relapse. Okay. And then I will say this, let's say this kid had been sober for a period, and he had tended to be doing all right. He's staying with his buddies, skating. And then he starts using more heavily than he had been before. And that use, let's say I can corroborate it by interviewing the kid he lived with or asking other people. And they're all like, yeah, he was definitely using more right at this time. And then that use subsequently leads to the overdose. That would be a pretty good indication. I would definitely consider that as strong evidence, and I would weigh it heavily in my evaluation that, yeah, that was precipitated, or that essentially these compacted additional humiliations caused real harm, and that some of that harm was the worsening of the substance use disorder.
Somebody who would do this action of catfishing, soliciting the photo, spreading the photo, giving it to the media. What kind of person is that?
So hypothetically speaking, let's say you've got a group of guys and they do something that they claim is a prank, where they're asking for an image and they're pretending to be a sexy woman. And then once they get the nude photo, they take a photo of themselves, all kind of laughing at the person, and send it to him, right? So there are a couple things here. One, the ringleader, the one who, had the idea and started it. And there are a couple things that determine what that person's motivations are. So first of all, if you get a bunch of guys in their 20s, they're all sort of still figuring out their identity. And guys who are that age, a lot of their identity and their sense of masculinity and who they are is actually based on peer identification, being accepted by your peers. So that's number one. We've got a lot of guys who are still figuring out who they are, and they are really attuned to how much do the dudes like me as for their self-esteem. So that's primary motivator in anything. But now you've got a close-knit group, and they're bonding based not so much on like shared interests. There's part of that, in the skate world, but a lot of their bonding, and we see this with groups of men in the military, sports, and then also skate crews, like becomes about bearing witness to one another's sexual exploits. And fine, But as soon as it gets into the territory of degrading and humiliating and without somebody's consent, right? Somebody's knowing participation, that's when it gets really sketchy. So if this is a pattern for the person and not just complete stupidity, so if they're above the age of like 22, we're actually getting into a phase where they're making a decision, and we can't fully blame it on like brain non-development or being a kid or anything. Once we get into like mid 20s, they're making an explicit choice. That said, we are very social creatures, and we've got this group context. So if you're getting immediate reinforcement of laughter, and if you're already in kind of a group culture that's about like, especially if you get like really traditional machismo and like masculinity, where it can just sort of build upon itself and get pretty twisted pretty quickly. So there were multiple points where whenever you get this kind of group think phenomenon where somebody gets really hurt and afterwards you're like, that was pretty fucked up. Like, I don't think I would ever do that. You actually really have to think in advance about like, what do I stand for and what am I willing to sacrifice socially in order to do the right thing? Because I want you to think about a dynamic like this. You got a bunch of dudes together, they're rowdy. This is already a culture where sexual exploits are like definitely fodder for conversation. And then the more you can make the other guys laugh, it boosts your self-esteem. And so it keeps like, you keep upping the ante. There's still opportunity to not laugh, to be like, hey, that's not cool, to not actually do it or, you know, even show the photo. There are so many multiple decision points where anybody could intervene. And there's this research theory called social like bystander apathy. What that means is essentially we know that the more people are in a group when they're making a decision like this where somebody could get harmed, the more people that are around, the less likely each person in that group is to feel personal responsibility to say something about it or do something about it.
Is it because the group of when you're in a bigger group, you think you won't get caught, or because you think someone else will do it?
Smart. So there's a little bit of both. So when we have these male group cultures, these close-knit male group cultures, like sports teams, military, et cetera, what I said, there is a tendency for secrecy and sort of like what goes on in the group stays in the group, where they're all shrouded in this sort of protection of secrecy. And it's unlikely that misconduct will ever be disclosed or reported or stood up against. So it gets pretty deviant and weird. But the other thing is that in general, this is a phenomenon that is well researched, where there is sort of well, somebody else surely must be calling the police. Somebody else surely must have done something about that. But if you got everybody with that same mindset, especially if a situation is ambiguous or high stress, meaning like people don't quite know if it's an emergency or if it's bad, that's actually when that sort of diffusion of responsibility is strongest, because we start scanning other people to see like, is this cool? Is this weird? And if other people are laughing, then you're more likely to go along with it. If you have not already preemptively thought about what you stand for and what you're willing to give up for the sake of what you stand for.
It was very, it put me in a like little depression for a while.
It would have put anyone in depression, dude. Like, it doesn't matter how tough you are. Like, that would have fucked up anybody. You know, like, how that affected your outlook on skateboarding and the industry and being able to even show your face. Like, you have to be brave to go out into the world after people throw your naked photo on the internet. You know what I mean?
Like, I've always kind of been hated, like, feel like in skating because of like riding for world shit. But like, so if I kind of became normal to me, but like inside it did hurt. And I don't really talk about it much, but yeah, I feel like it messed up a lot of opportunities for me. You know.
I'm gonna ask, were you friends with Henry Gartland?
I was. Yeah. I wasn't like, he was like my little bro, like growing up, and then once he like, you know, got older, I didn't talk to him much. But like whenever we were at third, like me and him competed in contests together, you know, like sometimes he would be first, sometimes I would be second. Sometimes I'd be first, sometimes he'd be second. He is a beast, dude. He was such a beast growing up. It's really unfortunate that, like, what he was going through, you know?
I feel like you've had a lot of loss around you. Like, does it feel that way?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It's like, it doesn't make sense. Like, my parents told me, like, plenty of times, it's like, we never lost that many, like, friends and stuff, like, at your age. Like, to overdoses, to that was mainly like what I lost friends to, but like when Henry passed away, that was different, you know. And I had lost like more friends to suicide, honestly. I lost my friend Dalton was before Henry, like a couple years before Henry, and Dalton was a beast at skating too. But yeah, and then I lost a lot of people to like just suicide and overdoses. That's it. And I was like, yeah, it's tough. But yeah, that just happens in life sometimes, you know. But mental health is real. Mental illness is real. And say I think men tend to like push their mental health under the rug because they feel like they'll be less of a man, you know, if they get help or something like that, or they're just like scared to ask for help. I don't know, because of the stigma around mental health. And you know, addiction is a mental illness. It's like I think a scientific study like said something like that.
Like, what keeps you going in life? And what makes you happy?
What keeps me going in life? Um, my mom, you know, uh, my nieces. Well, first and foremost, God, you know, Jesus. I believe in Jesus. Um, I always pray to God to help me keep going, you know. Like I don't want to die. I want to I want to live life. Music. If I didn't have music, oof, I wouldn't be here. That's for sure. I don't think if I didn't have music, that's one thing that kept me going. But yeah, my niece Alma, she's like such a sweetheart. That's like one thing that keeps me hanging on, and just like the thought of my nieces in general. You know, I want to see them grow up. You know, but yeah, that and God, family and God keeps me going, and friends,
Are you still skating?
brothers. Like, I want to. I haven't skated in a year. I haven't stepped on a board in a year. I've maybe done like one kickflip. I have a benign tumor in my foot too, and like my right foot or my yeah, it's my right foot, and like as soon as I jump down something, it'll like get affected. Like it's called neuroma, and it's like a nerve in between like two of your toes, like your pointer toe and then your middle finger toe, I think. Yeah, those two, and it forms from like a nerve, just nerve damage, just from jumping down stuff. It creates like calcified or scar tissue like on the nerve, and then it gets inflamed. And there's like a popping in between my toes, and it hurts so bad though to skate. And my toes are numb. Like those two toes are numb, but it hurts. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I stopped. Like I literally couldn't even step on my foot. Like when I get out of bed in the morning. Like right now, it kind of went away because I haven't skated for so long. So, yeah, I was gonna get surgery on it actually, but I missed my surgery date when I had scheduled it like back in 23. I just didn't want to go to it because it's like a 50-50 chance that surgery will work. So they've had people that it didn't work for before, and it could make it worse.
Oh yeah.
So that kind of scared me. I was like, yeah, I'm glad I waited it out though, because it's not as bad right now. I can feel it there, but it doesn't hurt.
I feel like you can survive anything. Like, I really do. Like, you've almost died so many times. Like, you've been through all this gnarly shit. Like, how do you keep going? Like, you've been through crazy shit.
I think, yeah, it's been not normal, not what like an average person has been through, I don't think.
No.
Like, for real, I've been through some messed up shit. Like,
do you want your...
I think I keep going, though, from obviously God, and, like, you know, the thought of my dad, that keeps me going. Like, my dad will, like, show me signs, you know, like, that he's still here and guiding me. I think I keep going from that. Just faith, you know, having faith that everything's going to be okay. Yeah, obviously family and friends and music. That's how I keep going. I listen to music all day, every day, and just writing stuff.
I always have music on. Do you want your life to calm down and be simple?
I do. You know, that's all I really want nowadays is my peace. Just like good, not good, but just genuine, pure people that stand on principles and morals, you know. Just be surrounded by that and just like mutual respect. It's like, that's all I really want. And I want to be able to freaking provide for the people that gave me life, you know. That's what I want to do. And honestly, I want to make music. I've been making music for a long time, ever since I was young, you know. Before I was skating, I was even singing and doing that stuff. But like, I didn't start taking it seriously until like 2016 or so. It was always kind of like a fail safe if skateboarding didn't work. And even then, like, I didn't want to make it a career because I mean, I did want to make it a career, but like, it's been my passion forever, music and skating, you know. The music shit is awesome, and that's what I want to keep doing with my life, though, is just making music and just like grow that, you know, get established in that and just keep working on it. And
what do you like so much about making music? Like, what does it do for you?
I like that you can create things like with the words that you say, and like you can manifest the life that you want through speaking things into existence. And it's easier, I think, to do that making music, and it feels good. It feels like when I get like hit a note the way I want it to, or write a verse the way I want it to, and it's like landing a trick on a skateboard, like landing a banger. It's like that same feeling. It's honestly better though. Like, I'm like, oh. I feel like I can do that. Comes more natural now that I'm getting older. Be able to like do that instead of jump down a big ass handrail and possibly sack it or hit my freaking head. But also, you gotta like be careful with what you say when you're making music too. Just like, there's so many cool things about it. It's awesome. You can reach more people with it.
And do you?
Yeah,
so you
can change somebody's life too with music.
Oh,
yeah, I'll record and I'll like mix and master my stuff, but I don't produce my beats or anything. I haven't yet, but I have a keyboard, like a MIDI controller that I want to do it with, that I got, and then yeah, I'm gonna learn how to produce soon. But usually, like, artists, like, you're either an artist or you're like a producer. It's hard to do it all. Like, you know, it takes a long time. Like, but it's worth it, I think, being like a producer and a recording artist. But I haven't done that yet. I just try to focus on writing songs instead of producing beats. But I think it's going to be like a valuable tool to learn.
You said, I accidentally cut you off because of our delay, but you said with music you can change people's lives.
Yeah, I think you can reach a lot more people with music and changing people's lives, you know, like music has it helped me get through a lot of like my addictions and withdrawals, you know, like that's when it like spoke to me. It still speaks to me a lot, but like it spoke to me then and just gave me chills. Like it would help me get through those withdrawals from in my addiction, and it just can bring you to tears. It can make you happy, it can make you sad. It's always like there. And honestly, I want to change people's lives with my music too. I want people to be happy. I want to make people feel their emotions, you know.
What would you say to anyone else that's dealing with addiction right now that, you know, is in a position you used to be in that wants to get away from it?
Sober community, like keep that around you. You know, you gotta pretty much gotta cut off every single person that you're like friends with when you were doing that. You know, if you really want it, you can do it though, and you do have the strength to get through it. You got it. Um, if I were to like, I can only speak for myself, but like, just have faith. Have faith that you'll make it through. Um, keep God on your side, your loved ones. Take care of the people around you. Take care of yourself. Eat good, but like mentally and spiritually, you know, physically and spiritually. Like, I think it's important to believe in a higher power. Like, mine, I choose Jesus. You know, that's what has literally kept me alive. I believe. You know, just praying to God and keeping Jesus there in my mind, for sure.
But you just watched a bunch of my interview with him.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you can say, just having observed watching him for 20 minutes talking, like about what you saw?
A couple of my initial impressions were this poor kid, you know, you could not choose, like, he's so humble and earnest and seems like such a genuine reporter, right off the bat. And there are scientific reasons that he comes off as genuine too, that I'm willing to give this impression. He takes responsibility for himself almost unnecessarily. This is not somebody who is withholding of any, or defensive, or withholding of any details, or unwilling to admit to his own faults. He is overly admissive of his own faults, right? He has this kind of fundamental decency and truth-telling quality, and really accurate appraisal of things. Like, I think he used a phrase, what did he say? Like, something about that just felt like wrong. You know, he's so humble, and so true. I did see indications that he's pretty down on himself. He doubts himself. In that regard, that would make him somebody that any sort of predator would seek out, because he's an easy target and less likely to retaliate, right? So if you want to get away with a crime, go for the kid who already thinks everything's already his fault. I think that's what I took from that. And he's just struck me as a really genuine, sweet kid who doubts himself. And I think the heartbreaking part of watching him talk with you, A, is his genuineness and earnestness. B, was a part of him, you know, even said, like, I'd taken the photo before, because he's already internalized that it just shows the extent to which people truly internalize this idea that they somehow brought it on themselves. And what I would have said to him if he were my client in that moment, I would have said, you know, that even if you had taken this photo and sent it in that moment, that would have been okay, because you were sending a photo to somebody you were sexually attracted to, a woman you thought was a woman who was genuinely interested in you. And so you did nothing wrong here, like nothing wrong at all. But he still is internalizing that shame of a group of dudes laughing at him.
There's two very common, like, underminings that come out.
Mm-hmm.
The first one why did Cody send the photo? It's his fault. He should have known better.
Blaming the victim.
Yes. Can you speak to that?
Well, I mean, look, I haven't evaluated anybody here, but what I will say is, like, just from the facts of, if we're just going on the facts of what's been reported so far, right? So both parties have said that the same facts of what occurred, that that Dane posed as a woman, sent photos of a sexy woman to Cody, then asked for photos of Cody that were sexual in nature. They both shared that, okay? So why wouldn't he? Like, when did this happen?
2012. The end
Oh,
of 2012.
yeah. Nobody was anticipating how gnarly having like an image of yourself go public was back then. People did not have the same caution that they have now. Now it's literally a cautionary thing. Parents are like teaching their kids about it, and like phone safety and text safety. And we have all these laws around it. But a lot of those laws, like one of them in California was implemented in 2013, the first law. And again, he thought this was a woman who was interested in him, who had sent him nude photos already. Like, it's reciprocal. They already have one on each other. He had no idea he was sending this to a group of dudes who were doing it at his expense.
And so the other criticism, and this goes for what happened with Dane and what happened with Jamie on the podium.
Mm-hmm.
These are just jokes. People are so soft. Cody's so fucking soft. Like, we can't even joke anymore.
That's moronic. I would love to see any like actual man, today. Like, if a dude is in a group like that and doesn't just say like, hey guys, this isn't cool. Like, to me, that just shows weakness all around in that group. To me, that's just like a bunch of insecure, weak dudes.
Yeah, I mean, this is what's coming in the comments.
Yeah, I think that's an embarrassing comment.
Yeah, I do too. And I think, we all know what happens if you what could happen if you send a nude photo is insane too, because again, to your earlier point,
I'd love to check that person's phone.
They're also speaking in hindsight. They're speaking in 2025, not
100%. There's that, but also like these sorts of criticisms are so shitty, and a human being has been really harmed here and like so clearly degraded. It's really hard for me to find it defensible at all for somebody to put it on him. It's really weird. It's like defending somebody kicking a dog or something. Like, what? This is so clearly like just degrading.
The sentiment, the sentiment is that he shouldn't have been harmed, and he shouldn't have been harmed in the first place. Meaning, like, he shouldn't have felt harmed by what happened. That seems to be the sentiment. Like,
I think,
why is he so soft?
Okay, do these people realize, like, these weren't his friends? Like, this was a group of men older than him. Like, they were not bros. They weren't friends. They weren't talking. They didn't roust each other all the time. Like, this was fucking cruel and out of the blue. Like, they targeted a kid younger than them and then collectively tricked him, defrauded him. Like, there's just something about this that like is so clearly wrong and exploitative and degrading. It's like, and sexual in nature, like the power differential, the age differential, the fact that they didn't even know each other. Like they weren't friends. Like, there's something so cruel and sophomoric about it. And like also weirdly homoerotic and like fucked up, like it's just, who wants to be on the side that's saying like, nah, it's cool. Like, this poor kid's soft. Like, again, it's sort of like taking the side of defending the dog abuser. Like, just why? I'd be embarrassed to post anything like that.